All right, today we're talking with an entrepreneur who is working to revolutionize an industry that is static and is literally has not changed in centuries. I'll tell you his story in a second. His name is Kyle Ewing. He is the founder of TerraSlate, is his company. And again, I'll tell you about him in a second.
Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we feature top entrepreneurs, business leaders, and thought leaders and ask them how they built key relationships to get where they are today. Now, let's get started with the show.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corcoran. I am the host of this show, and every week we feature smart CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs from all kinds of companies. And if you check out the archives, that we have Netflix and Grubhub and Redfin, Gusto, Kinko's, lots of great episodes for you to check out. And before we get into this interview, this episode is brought to you by Rise 25. At Rise 25, we help businesses to give to and connect to their dream or relationships and partnerships. How do we do that? We do that by helping companies to run their podcast. We are the easy button for any company to launch and run a podcast. We do strategy, accountability, and full execution on the production side. And we do all of those things. If you want to learn more, you can go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. All right. My guest today is Kyle Ewing. He's the founder of TerraSlate. It's a company that has transformed the world of paper. Yes, paper, durable printing solutions. They provide waterproof and tear-proof paper that is used by restaurants, the military, hospitals, and various industries that require some kind of long-lasting printed materials. And as I previewed in the beginning here, this is an industry that's been around for centuries, maybe millennia. I mean, I don't even know how long it's been around. So it's incredible that he is revolutionizing this. But first, Kyle, such a pleasure to have you here today. And before we get into your story around TerraSlate, I want to know about what you were like growing up as a kid. So you grew up on a horse farm in Colorado, and you were raising chickens and selling chicken eggs. Tell me a little bit about the young Kyle Ewing going and learning these entrepreneurial lessons on the farm.
Yeah. Hey, John. Thanks for having me on the show. Big fan. When I was a little kid, I was always trying to sell stuff. I always wanted to make money. And I lived on a farm, and so I had a pony, but I was a big fan of our chickens. And so I sort of took over the chickens and the chicken farming, and I would sell eggs at church and to the headmaster's wife at my school, to literally anybody I could. And at the time I was selling them for like $8 a dozen, which was astronomical.
That's quite high for 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Longer than that. And my tagline, which I'm still very proud of, was Kyle's Egg Farm, delicious eggs from happy chickens.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. How do you think you managed to sell them for such a high price? Like a lot of times we have trouble with pricing things, especially at a young age. So what gave you the confidence to charge that amount, and why do you think people paid it?
Oh man, no one's ever asked me that, and I'm so glad you did, because in Denver, we have what's called the National Western Stock Show, which if you didn't grow up on a farm means that's where you bring the prize cow and the prize bull and prize chicken. And we would go to the stock show, and I would buy the prize hen and rooster. And to give you some context, the world champion rooster cost $6 at the time. So I would save up a couple bucks and buy the prize rooster and the prize hen, and I would include that in my little marketing pitch, that these are literally from the best chickens in the entire world.
That is brilliant. And they cost $6? That's what a
I don't
deal.
know what they cost today. But yeah, I remember forking over a 5 and a single for each chicken. And I was just like carrying them around like I had the coolest thing in the world. People would ask me about it. I was so proud to tell them. It was just absolutely hilarious. I loved it.
I've had a lot of entrepreneurs. I've interviewed over 1,000 entrepreneurs, and some of them are really proud of the businesses that they've acquired and how quickly they get ROI on their investment. But I have not found someone yet who spends $6 and gets $8 back on their very first dozen eggs that they, like 2 weeks later, you've got ROI.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's funny is like chickens lay 1 egg a day. So pretty quickly you have more than you can, like you can't sell that many. I mean, it just goes so fast. So anyway, I love that business.
I guess the question is, why'd you ever abandon that business? I mean, that clearly was the best business of all of these businesses, right?
Well, at some point I moved off to boarding school, and my father was literally collecting the eggs and delivering them. And he was like, all right, dude, I got to wrap this up. Like, I was like, but you're keeping the money. And he's like, Kyle, this is a no more. So that was the end of that business.
That's funny. All right, and you actually eventually became a pro skier in high school and college. Were you like making money, getting paid, or did you have sponsorships?
Yeah, there was a little bit of prize money that we would they would get at some of the events, and then the sponsors would cut us checks. You have what's called a victory schedule. So if you get third place or second place or first place, you get a certain amount of payout. And if you get their logo on TV, like you do an interview, they measure the number of seconds. You would like cut the clip, and I would literally do it on a VCR and then send it in with an exact timestamp, and then they would pay per second.
Wow. And you actually went to the Olympic trials, and so this is to qualify for the Olympics, and you got injured.
Yeah, I was having a great day. Unfortunately, I had a piece of equipment break and I crashed and was injured. So it was pretty devastating in reality at that point in my life. My entire identity and everything I thought about was dedicated towards like freestyle skiing and going to the Olympics. This happened in December. The Olympics were in February. And then what happened is I actually got to go, but go as athlete support. So I would carry extra gear for the folks, and use their skis and their poles and bring it up to the top of the mountain. So if they had an equipment malfunction, we could switch. I could take the broken stuff back down and they'd have a new set ready to go. The best part was going to the parties at the Olympics with like Budweiser and McDonald's and Visa and Coca-Cola. Though interacting with the big wigs from those companies is really what took my passion for business to a whole nother level. I just saw the business of the Olympics in a totally new light versus just the athletic piece. And I decided I don't want to try to come back in 4 years as an athlete. I want to go back to business school right away as soon as I can. And I want to get an MBA because I want their job. I don't want to try to be an athlete forever and end up kind of running out because your body can only last so long in that sport.
Right. Sound like quite a pivot point for you. I know you end up moving to Hawaii, and you've kind of got this lifelong passion for Hawaii. You have lived, I believe, part-time in Colorado, part-time in Hawaii, and you just now are planning to move permanently to Hawaii in a couple of months' time. When did this develop?
Yeah, I've never said it publicly, so you will literally hear this first.
Breaking news. You've heard it here first.
Breaking news with John Corcoran. Between undergraduate and graduate school, I thought I need something to help me get into this program. And I wanted to get into this program specifically because I liked the folks that came out of it and I liked what they had to offer. So I started this business in Hawaii where I was living, and I called it MBA Adventure Tours because I was trying to get an MBA. And it's literally...
Before we even get to that, like what brought you to Hawaii? There's a lot of places you could have gone for the time in between undergrad and grad school. And you obviously have like kind of a lifelong passion for the place. So was there a movie that you saw? Was it something, growing up in the frigid, ski slopes that you just kind of wanted to go somewhere warm? What was it?
Absolutely. I had a good friend, Milo, in high school, and he had gotten a job out there. And he said, "Hey, I've got a 2-bedroom apartment and I'm looking for a roommate. So if you want to come out here this summer, I'd love to have you." And I had done the mountain and the ski thing forever, and my plan wasn't to keep skiing. So it seemed like a perfect opportunity.
Got it. So that was coming out there is what opened your eyes to what paradise is like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you go there and you start this company, which you call MBA Tours, because you wanted to apply for business school, and you thought that you needed to start a business clearly in paradise in order to get into a business school.
Yeah, exactly. I thought like having started a business would really help my application.
Yeah. And you're schlepping up and down the beach, selling like skydiving tours, selling like surf lessons and things like that, which was that is all it was cut out to be, or was it more glamorous than you would think it would be, or what was the experience like?
I loved doing it because I got to meet the coolest people from all over the world, and the way I would do it is I made this like little menu book. And it was of all the tours. And I took all the pictures from the various websites of the tour operators. And I went to Kinko's and I laminated it, and I would carry it up and down the beach. And the way that I would initiate a conversation is I would see people taking a picture. And I would say, oh, do you want me to get one of the two of you or the four of you? And they would say, oh my gosh, yes, that's great. And that would be my entree as soon as I take the picture to say, hey, where are you guys from? And they'd say in California or whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, have you guys learned to surf while you've been in Hawaii? I kind of size them up. If they look athletic, like young guys, they want to learn how to surf. And so I'm asking them, they're like, oh no, yeah, we don't know how. They're like, actually, I teach surfing. I could do a group private lesson for you guys. We could meet right here at the beach tomorrow if you want to do it. And if that was a yes, I would do that. And if they said, oh, we're not really into water sports, then I would say, if you haven't been skydiving on the North Shore, you haven't lived yet. Let me show you what it's like. And then I would book the tour operator, and then they would give me a cut of the sale. So that's how I was making money.
So you were focusing on the sales. You didn't have to do the fulfillment that way.
Exactly. And then the next level, which I learned about a month in, was to go to all of the hotel concierges in Waikiki and say, hey, here's my business card, book the tour through me. And they would say, well, we already work with these people. Why do we need to do that? And I would say, because I'm going to pay the commission to you that same day. So if you book a tour through me today, I'm going to come back later with cash and I'm going to hand it to you. I'm not going to put it in the group pool. I'm going to hand it to you, John. And then I did that a couple of times. And then all of a sudden they'd get interested. Plus, if we had extra room on the dive boat on a Saturday or something, when I know it's their day off, I'd say, hey, John, I got a couple spots. If you want to bring your friends, come out here. It's on me. And we would just take some of the empty spots. And then we built that relationship.
Did you go into kind of walk into these hotels, walk up to the concierges and introduce yourself, hand them your business card and make this pitch?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I remember the third one, I was in the Outrigger Waikiki and they said, well, I need a copy of your insurance. And I was like, insurance? What even is that for something like this? And then I called around and got $1 million policy for a pretty reasonable cost. And then I came back and I said, oh, here it is. So then I was able to get it.
Yeah. So you go and you get your MBA program, and then you go and get your MBA, and then I believe you were a management consultant for a little while. That management consulting agency wanted to move you to Chicago, and you're like, forget it, I don't want to do that. And I know you had this day that you call your personal independence day, 9909. What was that?
Yeah, so 9909 was my first day without a real job. And that was the day I was going to become an entrepreneur for real. I was going to live off this and I'm never going back to the corporate world. So 9909, I call it my personal independence day. And at least up until now, I haven't had to go get a real job yet. So I'm very appreciative of that.
And what was the plan? Did you have an idea of what you were going to do, or did you quit and figure out, I'll figure it out after I quit?
Yeah, I think a true entrepreneur always has a side hustle, or at least 1 or 5 in their brain. And I had kind of started this company on the side while I was a consultant, and I was making ID systems for athletes. So something that you would wear around your neck or as a bracelet or lace into your shoes, and it would have your name, emergency contact, and your medical allergies. That way, if you and I, John, went on a bike ride or we went to climb a 14,000-foot mountain in Colorado and you bumped your head, I could immediately find out who you are, who to call, and tell the emergency services like your allergies and how to treat you.
So it's a good idea. It sounds like something that could require a lot of sales in order to be profitable, unless you're selling them in big groups or bunches. If you're going up to each individual person that's about to go mountain biking, that's like whatever, like a $20 sale or something. It doesn't seem like something that would have a lot of potential to it. So how did you sell it, or how did you package it in order to not have to constantly be hustling to make a $120 sale?
Yeah, at first I did do that, and I realized we're never going to get there. This is not going to spread on its own at that speed. So what I started doing is opening up a booth at the local 5K and the marathons in town. And I would go to the triathlons and set up a table and take orders there. And that worked pretty well. And then the thing that really got sales going would be to look at the groups that would be attending races. So in Denver, we have something called the Mile High United Way Turkey Trot. And I would call all the corporate companies that were putting together a team of like run walkers. And I would say, hey, look, here's the cost. They're $36 a piece, but I can do them for $20 or whatever it is. If you want to buy this quantity of them, buy them for all your people, show them how important it is to them that their safety is important to you. And that's how we kind of got the ball, or I kind of got the ball rolling on sales is group stuff.
And you sold this company. How did that come about? Were you tired of it and you want to move on to something else, or did the opportunity come along?
Yeah, the opportunity came along. We were able to sell to a competitor, and that was great. It was a very smooth transaction. I think it gave me the impression that all business transactions are this easy. I would say if there's some takeaways, if somebody offers you an amount, it doesn't matter how much money it is, it might be worth a counter. I was so excited to see it. I was like, yeah, deal done, sold. We wrapped it up in 30 days. So
Wow.
did I leave some money on the table? Probably, but was I able to buy my wife a house and myself a sports car?
Nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
do I regret the decision? I don't.
Yeah. Did that lead into TerraSlate? Because I can see some kind of connection because it's something that has information printed on it, and eventually you start TerraSlate. Is that what led into the TerraSlate idea?
Yeah, it is. And originally, I thought the need was for there to be waterproof versions of passports. Like I would travel with mine, and at some point I had gotten it wet. And the little stampy guy would always give me a hard time. Like, well, your passport's all wrinkled up. We're like, yeah, but it's still a valid passport. So like, what do you care, guy?
Yeah.
And it was always an issue. So I said, okay, I need to develop waterproof paper so that we can make passports waterproof so that we don't have this issue. And it was a pretty cool product. The challenge was the business people that travel internationally all the time, they don't lose their passport, they don't get it wet, they don't need this. And the people that are going to get their passport wet because they're adventuring don't know that's about to happen. So we were selling like 2 a week. And I like to joke that we were making literally tens of dollars in this business. But the issue was on a 100,000 sheet first production run, I was never going to sell this stuff. My payback was 200 plus years. And it didn't feel like a viable business.
And how it was, did the technology exist already, or did you have to innovate and create a new technology, this new paper?
Yeah. So what I did is I called around to figure out like who would be able to develop this. And I found out like, okay, you need a chemical engineer. And then I called chemical engineering firms and they said, this is not a project for us. And then I finally got a hold of a guy who knew a guy, and eventually we started iterating. And then we went through a whole bunch of versions of it, like 10 different iterations, because it was at first too brittle, and then it wouldn't take ink or toner, and then it would melt. All these different issues that we had to solve. And it took about a year until we got to a product that I could sell.
Yeah. And at some point you figure out that this would work for the military. How did you come to that realization?
Yeah, there was a guy at the Air Force Academy that stumbled on my product, and he called up and he said, "Hey, I think we could use this for our maintenance log and flight manuals." And I said, "Okay, I like that idea." And so he's like, "I'd like to buy a small order of 5,000 sheets." And I thought 5,000 sheets was huge, so I was thrilled.
Yeah.
And it worked well for him. So we got in there, and then it sort of spread to the other branches of the military because it works in similar functions. Like it's in the tanks, the M1 Abrams tanks, some of those. It's in some of the nuclear submarine escape pods. Not a place you ever want to find yourself, by the way. You're for sure going to die. But it is pretty interesting to read some of those manuals.
Wow, that's crazy. And around the time or shortly after it looks like you started TerraSlate, you end up starting another company. Testline is what it was called, which competed with, as if starting and innovating on a new product that has been around for centuries or millennia wasn't hard enough. You decided, well, let me go compete with Uber and Lyft, two of the hottest startups of the last 10 years. So what was that?
Yeah, I thought there was an opportunity to compete with Uber and Lyft using all electric cars. That was the one thing that they didn't do well. They started like Uber started with black cars, and then it got into like regular cars. And I thought,
and then you're driving around in Priuses mostly.
Sure, right.
Yeah.
And like there's a premium market here. People will be willing to pay more to be in a luxury car. And oh, by the way, it's electric. So that was the idea. We built an app. It was called Testline. It worked all throughout the state of Colorado. We got some national coverage. It was on some TV shows and radio. It was really cool. The problem ultimately was that I was financing this myself out of the proceeds of the sale of my previous business. And the cars we were driving were Tesla Model X's. So they were all
It's
about
a $100,000 car you got to buy. Yeah.
Yeah, they were like
Yeah.
120
Yeah.
each. And then we
Yeah.
had to have a charger for every car. And then we had to have a garage for every car. And then we had to have drivers. And you pretty much need 4 drivers per car in order to maintain the vehicle on the road. Plus, you got to have downtime to charge them. So it turned into a 24-hour-a-day business. And it was immense amounts of work to run this thing, and truly not very profitable. I thought I would get to profitability, but competing against Uber and Lyft with the funding they had just wasn't practical. And at the same time, TerraSlate had really begun to take off. So I ended up closing Testline. I sold the book of business for a nominal amount, sold all the cars, and really focused on TerraSlate.
How painful was that?
You know, I had flown across the country and was driving back with my mom. And we were like in the middle of the desert in Nevada or something. And I was just thinking about it and talking it through. And she loved the service. So when I mentioned I was thinking about closing it, she was like, please don't do that. Do not do that. Like, I love this. My friends love it. And I was like, yeah, but the thing is, the business case just isn't there. You know, we're either not charging enough, or we shouldn't run it 24 hours a day. Those are both mistakes that I, in hindsight, clearly made. But I decided, you know, like, I got to shutter this because I have this opportunity cost. Any time I'm not spending on TerraSlate that I am spending on Testline, it's costing me a lot of money, and I got to not do that.
It must have made it easier that you had this other company that's doing well. It's not like, you know, you were closing that up and you didn't know what you're going to do next. What about, so you have got these large global behemoths, Tesla, Uber, Lyft. Were they at all concerned with you, or were you so small that they weren't thinking about you? Or did you get any cease and desist letters or any fights with those big companies? Because it's going to be tough for a small startup to compete with those large companies.
Yeah, you know, getting customers wasn't the problem. And Uber and Lyft, I don't even know if we were on their radar. If we were, it was at a level that I don't think they were very concerned about. Tesla, while they wouldn't give us a discount on bulk buying cars, they did indirectly tell us, while you're not allowed to use the supercharger network for commercial vehicles, because it was all free at the time. So we were charging the cars for free. They indirectly said, if you do that, we're not going to shut you down for that, because we were getting a lot of people in Teslas that had never been in a Tesla, and they would have a really good experience, and then they would go buy a Tesla. We're getting this kind of like referral network set up. And so Tesla was not giving us discounts, but not charging us to charge the vehicle. And we were technically breaking their rules. So that we appreciated that.
Yeah, something. That's a positive there, I guess. By the way, during all this time, are you still harboring this love for Hawaii and like yearning to go back one day?
No, absolutely. You know, like, Hawaii is one of the most magical places in the world. I love everything about it. I love the people. I love the culture. I love the water. The challenge for me is there isn't a huge amount of job opportunity there. And it's limited to really one island of Oahu, and that island, it's pretty crowded. So like, if I want to live in Hawaii, it's on one of the other islands, but then there really isn't any industry. It's like tourism, a little bit of agriculture, and that's it.
And you're moving to Maui, which I believe the population of Maui is like 50,000 people, 60,000 people or something like that. You know, I mean, not counting tourists,
bigger.
obviously.
It's like 160,000 or so.
Okay. Maybe it's Kauai. I'm thinking is like 50,000
Yeah,
people.
60,000 in Kauai, something like that. Exactly.
Yeah, so not a lot of people.
You know, the plan was I would sell TerraSlate in 2 years and move to Hawaii. And the problem is, I'm 11 years in now, and I haven't sold the business, and I don't really want to sell the business because I like running it. I love the people that I get to work with, and we get to do things that have positively affected other people's lives, and we're good for the environment and powered by the wind. And there's a big part of me that always feels like it's going to be 2 years out, which sort of means never. And so my wife and I were in Maui on our 10-year anniversary trip that we took there this past summer. and we had a boozy lunch, and we decided we were going to go look at a couple of houses. So I called a real estate agent, and that's sort of how that happened. And then we closed on one in September, and now we will move officially June 1.
So that's about 9 months between closing on the house and moving. What have you had to do in that time in order to get the company ready for you to make this major change?
Yeah, in order to get myself out of the day-to-day operations, it's been critical to make some new hires. So I have a new COO, not related to this, but he's been here about a year. His name is Ryan, phenomenal guy, love him. We got a director of sales, director of marketing. We have a plant manager. We have a sales manager, a whole bunch of new account managers, really building out the team and installing systems like EOS or the entrepreneurial operating system so that I can run the business from 3,000 miles away. And just recently, I had the opportunity to visit Richard Branson on his private island in the Caribbean called Necker Island. And I was able to spend a few days with him and really engage with him about how do you manage a company like Virgin or all of the Virgin companies from the middle of an island like in the Caribbean, which is incredibly far away from anything, much less England. And he had some really good insights. It was about the team, paying the team, and then some tips and tricks we probably don't have time to go into. We'll do that on a follow-up. But it was really motivational. I got a lot out of that, and that's what gave me the confidence to really go ahead and do this.
Yeah, he has something like 400 companies or some insane amount of company. I don't know how many he has now, but yeah, like an insane number. I don't even know how he keeps tabs on all those. I'm sure he has other people that keep tabs on all the other companies because he can't. It's not like he can meet one-on-one with even if he did one a year. It met with the operator of the business once a year. It'd be every day. It'd be meeting with an operator of the business that he owns. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
He also has a really fascinating licensing arrangement. I don't know if you talked to him about that, but there's like a licensing model where they are kind of licensing the brand, which has great cachet, to companies in exchange for like an equity ownership stake in that company, which is it's quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Super cool model that he's built.
By the way, you are also the owner of the Big Island Honey Company. How did that come about, and how have you managed that from afar? I'm assuming that one's in Hawaii while you've been mostly living in Colorado.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that one is on the Big Island of Hawaii. My wife and I were visiting the Big Island, and I bought some honey and a couple other things at the grocery store, and somehow my tab was like $200, and I was like, "What did we just buy?" I mean, I know Hawaii is expensive, but wow. And then it was this honey. And, I was like, this better be the best honey I've ever had in my life. Because I'd already opened it,
Yeah.
And so I tried it and I was like, okay, well, I mean, that's accurate. And my wife tried it. She agreed. And so I kind of got involved. Originally, I was just buying cases. And my wife said, Kyle, I don't care what you do, but you can't buy the company. Just buy.
What do you mean by you got involved and you're buying cases? So you're buying cases and like reselling it or something like that?
I was buying cases, shipping them to Colorado, and then I was giving it away as gifts. Like, thank you, Pearl. Great to meet you. Whatever it is.
Okay.
I used to give wine, but not everybody drinks wine. And sometimes it triggers people. But honey is amazing because it never goes bad. It lasts a while. No one's allergic to honey, and nobody's ever been triggered. Right? It was like, honey.
Those are all good reasons. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of like the funniest thing where people typically won't spend $165 on a jar of honey, but if you give it as a gift, they really appreciate it because the
$165 for a jar of honey. Wow, that is not cheap honey.
Yeah, it's spendy honey. I will send you some. You have to let me know what you think.
Oh, damn. I will take it. I mean, it sounds like there's this coffee bean that's from Jamaica. I forget the name of it. And there's some elevation in Jamaica where they can grow coffee beans. And it's like some of the most expensive coffee beans in the world because of the location. It sounds kind of like a similar type of thing, where it's like so rare, so pristine that they just charge it like in crazy amounts for it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like this apiary, which is what like a bee farm is called, is located about 2,500 feet up above sea level on the side of a volcano. So it has this very unique climate, and the flowers that grow around the hives are growing in this ultra mineral rich soil. And so the bees, when they do their thing, they're pollinating and doing the nectar from these specific flowers that you can plant by the hives. And then those are growing in ultra mineral soil. So you get this honey that has this really delicate flavor and people love it. So
Hmm.
the price is predicated on demand. It's pretty much always sold out. It is very difficult even for me to get a jar
Wow.
at certain times of the year.
Hmm.
But man, it's good. And it is so fun. Like when I send somebody a jar of honey, I love getting that text message back of them opening it, or they got it on the counter, or their kids got a whole spoonful of it. I think it's just the best. I
Do you,
absolutely love it.
Now, do you tell them that this is a $165 jar of honey so they don't accidentally like, give it to the neighbor or something like that?
I don't tell them no,
Oh, you
no, but I
should,
think
man.
we figure
I
it
mean,
out because it's white, it's not
oh,
yellow,
wow.
and it
Okay, cool.
doesn't pour like honey.
Okay.
It almost has the consistency of butter, like
Wow.
it's thick and more of a spread. So they
Okay.
know as soon as they open it that this is not just like regular like yellow bear
Yeah.
honey, and so I
I
don't know
do.
if they figure out the price or not, but
I
they
do
do.
have it. I have in my fridge. I'm almost as much of a fan of Hawaii as you are. Just love the place, love the culture, love the people, everything about it. It's peace on earth. It's the one place in the United States where you feel like you're not in the United States, but at the same time you're in the United States, which is kind of weird way of describing it. But I have a jar of lilikoi butter in my fridge that I got from the last time that we went to Hawaii, and similar type of thing. It's like a different kind of consistency. Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee is the name of the one that I couldn't think of there. So,
Got it. Okay,
so you
look
love
that
this
up.
coffee. I mean, sorry, you love this honey, and you're like, this is so expensive. I might as well buy the whole company. So, how did that come about?
Yeah, so I ended up doing what's called an asset sale, where you buy the rights to the business, but I don't own the land. Um, and it's advantageous for me because I don't know anything about bees or raising bees or making honey, and it's advantageous for the folks because they got what they wanted, but they continue to make honey, right? Like they
Okay, so
didn't give it
the
away.
owners are
Nobody gets
still
fired.
operating. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
right. And I love that because
Yeah,
I don't know on it. I mean, I've learned over the last year and a half, but honestly, I don't know anything when it comes to like how to do
yeah,
this.
yeah.
So they're passionate about that. What I'm good at is distribution, logistics, marketing, sales. And so we kind of combine superpowers and it works great. The company got totally rebranded. I love the packaging now. It's black and white. And it's just been so much fun to run it. It won't do $1 million of sales this year, so it's not a big company, limited by capacity, but man, it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I mean, now that you mention it, you've done distribution of physical products all across the globe. So that, in a sense, you're bringing in that expertise, which I imagine they didn't have that kind of expertise before, if they're, really good at making the product.
Yeah, exactly. Like distribution from Hawaii is incredibly expensive. So the challenge for them was they could sell it on the islands, but it was hard to get it to the mainland because the cost was so high to ship individual jars. And so what we do now is we ship in bulk to the mainland and then we distribute from here. And then what's going to get sold in Hawaii stays there. So it's very logical now. But if
Mm.
you don't have those shipping rates established with the freight carriers, it takes forever to get to that level where it's cost efficient. So I was able to leverage the buying power from TerraSlate and just create a separate division within those accounts to
Oh,
leverage those rates. And that's how we do it.
very cool. And indulge your passion in Hawaii, own a bit of Hawaii, but of course, you will be there very soon. I want to ask usually my last question, but I also want to ask about your book. So I'll ask about that after this. But my gratitude question. So I'm a big fan of practicing gratitude and also giving our guests a little bit of space at the end here to acknowledge any peers, contemporaries, mentors who've helped them in their journey. Anyone you would want to shout out and thank?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And thank you for the opportunity. I had a ski coach when I was in high school, and he was incredibly detailed, incredibly specific, very motivational, and he drove a tough bargain. Guy's name is Bobby Aldegari. I am forever in his debt. He's the one that taught me how to be on time and so much more. Like the discipline I learned from this coach has paid for itself 1,001 times over throughout my whole life. Like true hard work is something that very few people get a chance to see. Everybody will tell you that they work hard, but there's different levels of that, and it's all relative. And Bobby was trying to make anybody that wanted to be an Olympian into an Olympian. He had done it. He's like, this is how you do it. And it was painful. I mean, there were a lot of days where I just felt like a broken toy. We had gone so hard in the off-season training or 5 a.m. weights when I was 14 years old. I mean, I just took so many things away from that I still use in my daily practice in business and life. So Bobby Algary, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
It's amazing the impact that a good coach can have on a young person. The final question, you got a book coming out. It's called Against the Clock, Strategic Time Hacking for Entrepreneurs. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this book. I just finished it. It's with the editors, the final ones now. And here's where the premise comes from. Both of my parents are attorneys, and so is my wife. The challenge that they have is that they perpetually trade time for money. It's very hard to scale. Can you hire more attorneys and have a bigger billable rate? Sure. But it's ultimately very slow and difficult to scale a business like that. So as an entrepreneur, we have the same issue that if we do all of the jobs in our business, the business will grow very slowly. So what time hacking is how to leverage your time. If you can teach somebody how to do it 80% as well as you can, you need to hand that off today. It's actually almost a self-help book for myself because it took me so long to learn these things without a manual that I was really excited to write the manual and accelerate the process for everybody else. So how do you buy back your time? How do you know when to hire somebody? What tasks should you delegate? And it's a combination of learnings that I've taken from the University of Denver, Wharton School of Business, went to this executive education program at Harvard, and I did a 3-year program on an entrepreneurial master's program at MIT. So it's all of those lessons, plus being in the entrepreneurs organization for 5 years and put into one book. And it's a quick read. It's really nice. You put together a couple tips, they last forever and they scale on themselves. So I'm really excited about the book.
Yeah. Well, I'm a recovering lawyer. So it sounds like this book will really resonate with me because that's part of why I'm not practicing law anymore is because of the reasons that you identified. Kyle, this has been great. Where can people go to learn more about you and TerraSlate and the book and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Thank you so much. KyleEwing.com is not yet live, but it will be. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm super active. So look me up on LinkedIn, Kyle Ewing. And then you can find me at bigislandhoney.com and TerraSlate.com.
Excellent, Kyle. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, John. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.